think proceed.
This is your time. Now go out there and take it.
Now, here are the Insiders.
The Insiders.
The Insiders.
The Insiders. Insiders.
Rob Hipp and Andy Rickoff.
All right, friends, we got you covered for the next hour here on a Friday. Happy Friday to you. Beautiful morning to get started. A little bit of fog, but you know what? That fog kind of crystallizing on the trees made for a beautiful winter wonderland on your way in. Think positive. It's game day, baby. And here we go. Rob Hipp alongside Micah Bendy. Andy decided to leave us. He said, you know what, guys, I'm out. He's on his way, though, to a little women's basketball game taking care of business. But again, Rob Hipp here, Micah Bendy on the Insiders. Welcome in, Micah. Game day on a Friday as we get ready for the quarterfinal round of the FCS playoffs. Man, I love Friday football. It's good to have a game on Friday.
I love Friday Night Lights. It's just, like I said, we talked about it before, it is a different energy. It's like you don't even have a work day because some people might not even work on Friday. Some people are taking a half day to get out to the tailgating lot. This doesn't even feel like work right now because, well, we're talking about football, and we got FCS playoffs here tonight. I'm excited for this one. NDSU versus Bulldogs.
It's going to be great. We'll be talking about that. Look, we've got an hour today because Ross Uglum is going to be in here with the Bison Report getting started at noon. Man, we have got you covered all the rest of the day. We'll be going all throughout the day, of course, starting here with the Insiders, and then it's game time. Go, 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 baby. Whatever you want, whatever Bison fix you need, we're going to have it here for you on the Insiders. Again, welcome in. We are live from the Theraldson Ethanol Broadcast Center. Theraldson Ethanol, a proud partner with Summit Carbon Solutions, helping reduce the carbon footprint by capturing, transporting, and permanently storing CO2 emissions, cutting carbon intensity in half. Also, this segment brought to you by our good friends at Wimmer's Diamonds. For 103 years, they've watched you fall in love and stay in love, providing beautiful reminders to celebrate all your special moments. It's Wimmer's Diamonds, 4582 32nd Avenue South in Fargo. Again, we know it's game day. We'll be talking a lot today. Heavy talk about NDSU versus Samford. You know what, Mike? I look at it like this because you hear a lot of the same information, but as a fan, you want to hear that information over and over and over. It's kind of like things just get in your head, and the more you hear it, the more you think about it, the more you remember. Tailgate lot's already going. We can't talk enough about this game that's happening tonight. It's going to be great, man.
Oh, yeah. Anything under the lights. NDSU doesn't get a lot of night games, so it has that different feel to it. And, Rob, I would recommend getting out to the tailgating lot I think you'll have a pretty good picture because there's a tailgating group that usually puts up lights on the side of the Fargo Dome when it's dark out. It usually has the NDSU logo and then the Bison head. And they can shine that right on the side of the Fargo Dome from the tailgating lot. It looks great. Creates a great atmosphere out there.
Yeah, it's going to be nice, man. That tailgating lot already going to get cranking up before too long, so make sure you get out there. Also, we'll talk about it more, but our own Chris Hansen is going to be out there today, as always, with the tailgate, looking for the tailgate of the game, brought to you by Twin Peaks, that $100 gift card. And so someone was asking me last night, we had our little pep rally. It wasn't little, a lot of folks showed up over at Cowboy Jackson, downtown Fargo, but we ended up having the pep rally on a Thursday instead of a Friday. It's normally called Friday Football Frenzy. Naturally, it's on a Thursday because the game's tonight. We had a lot of people show up. Our good friend Steve was asking. He showed up, brought a big table with him. Those guys were having fun. And he goes, what do I got to do to win that tailgater package? What do I got to do to get out there? What do I got to be the tailgater of the week? I said, well, Chris is just going to walk around and find people. We can't just pick out people. You know, there's no favoritism in this, but he will look for the tailgate. I said, the best way to do it is show your Bison pride. I said, shoot, maybe even the best way to grab his attention is make a huge banner that says, I want to be the tailgater of the week. And then you may win.
Create a T-shirt and start walking around. I want to be the tailgater of the week.
I told him just just walk around in a Speedo and paint your body green and you'll probably win, but I'm not sure how many people want to see some guy walking around in a Speedo painted green.
That'd be an impressive feat in the winter weather right now. So that would win you tailgater of the game.
That's the Polar Bear Club showing up to do that. But no, be out there. Going to be a lot of fun. We'll talk, of course, NDSU Samford. We're also going to look across the FCS playoffs with our good friend Sam Herder of Hero Sports. I got a hold of Sam a little bit earlier yesterday, and he said, man, I'd love to hop on. As always, it's a privilege to have Sam on. I don't think anybody covers the FCS better than him. And so he will be on talking about the landscape as we're now in that quarterfinal round. A lot of good matchups taking place. South Dakota State, Holy Cross, William and Mary battling Montana State. And then, of course, here tonight, North Dakota State and Samford. And then I think another one that a lot of eyes are going to be on is that Incarnate Word versus Sacramento State. So I'm looking forward to getting Sam's thoughts on that matchup. I'm rooting for UIW because we know what happens. We got to get through the game today. Don't want to look too far ahead, but as a fan, we are. I'm rooting for Incarnate Word because I'd love to see that showdown happening in the semifinals here in Fargo.
I can't wait to watch that game. Paying attention to that game, I believe the over-under was very, very high, like in the 70s or 80s. So expect a lot of points out of that game. Should be an exciting one to watch. Obviously, Lindsey Scott Jr. can fill up the scores, the stat sheet, the scoreboard. He does it all, and the likely Walter Payton, or not Walter Payton, what's the award again?
For
FCS Player of the Year.
Oh, the Player of the Year. Yeah, well, we'll see. Lindsey Scott Jr. No, Lindsey Scott Jr. is in the running for the Walter Payton Award.
It was Walter Payton.
It was Walter, yeah,
Oh
on the
my
offensive
gosh.
side. Yeah, the offensive is Walter Payton Award. Buck Buchanan is the defensive player of the
Had
year.
the biggest brain fart of my life.
Yeah, man,
I'm too excited for this game right now.
Yeah, so, and I already think Lindsey Scott Jr. is going to get that award. He's one of the 3 finalists there for that award. We're also going to talk about the Mayfield Miracle. Baker Mayfield doing some work last night on the last drive of the game for the Rams as they defeat the Las Vegas Raiders 17-16, a minute 30 to go. And Mayfield takes that team down the field, the Chargers there, or the Rams rather, takes that team down the field, 98 yards, minute 30 to go, game-winning drive, and he'd only been there for less than 48 hours. So that's going to be exciting to hear. Al Michaels, we captured his call of that on Thursday Night Football, so we'll play that for you as well, and much more. Want to remind you that the Rick Electric email inbox is open. You can email us, studio@bison1660.com. We'd love to hear from you. What are your thoughts? Do you want to chime in today? Call us on a Friday edition of football here happening in Fargo. We'd love to hear your thoughts. What are you looking forward to most about this game? This show is all about you, so let us know. We'd love to chat with you. You can email us, studio@bison1660.com. You can also email or text us on the Epic Companies hotline at 701-476-1660. As always, 701-476-1660. Well, and right to it, let's go over to the Epic Companies hotline. As I just mentioned, you can call in. Jim's already on it. A little Bison game day for us. Jim, what's going on, my friend?
Not much, Rob. How are you doing?
I'm good.
Stranger?
Yeah, hey, yeah, good to hear. Man, we've been going 38 days in a row, I believe. There's been a lot of action going on, men's basketball, football. It's that time of the year. How you doing?
Good.
What do you got? What do you got for us today, Jim?
What's the keys in the game? Are they getting any serious injuries
No, I think
for
everything.
Bison?
I think injury-wise, it is what it is. The guys that haven't been there won't be there, and I know that's kind of a an answer to that. But I appreciate you calling in, Jim. Spencer Wagey, from what I understand, he should be back, and that's a good sign. So I don't have any details of any detailed injuries, but we do know that from what I've read, Wagey seems like he'll be back, and so of course your other guys, we already know Lipke's out. We know how the rest of that season has been for some of those guys, unfortunately, but the big one is we do know from what we've read that Spencer should be back and ready to go in this ball game. And
that's great because he's a big leader on this team, and he's a huge force in the pass rush. And against a pass-heavy team today, the Bison are going to need that big leadership down in the trenches.
Yeah, and Jim was asking about those keys to the game. We will have those. We've actually got that wrapped up in a special segment, Jim, so I know that you'll stay tuned in, but stay with us here, and we'll go over our thoughts on the keys to the game as well. Got a few that we're going to break down and talking more about this Samford team and what kind of threats are they going to bring. You've heard about a lot all week. We're going to continue that discussion of their redshirt freshman quarterback, Quincy Crittenden. What is he going to bring to the table? Will we see Michael Hires much in this ball game? Those are all things that we're going to talk about and we'll break down as the show goes on. I want to remind you that Sun Butter is the maker of delicious sunflower butters from our friends at Red River Commodities that the whole family can enjoy. Sun Butter is free of the top 8 food allergens, including peanuts, tree nuts, soy, and dairy. It's grown in the tri-state area, produced locally at Red River Commodities in Fargo. Sun Butter, simple ingredients, delicious flavor. As I mentioned earlier, Chris Hansen will be looking for you in the tailgate lot today. All you got to do is show your Bison pride. You might just win a $100 gift card to Twin Peaks if Chris finds you as the tailgater of the game. That's brought to you by our friends at Twin Peaks. If you're a fan of Twin Peaks, sign up for the E-Club to stay up to date on all things Twin Peaks and to score free stuff. Just visit TwinPeaksRestaurants.com. It's eats, drinks, scenic views. That's Twin Peaks. The Insider's also brought to you by Proceed. Need seed? Think Proceed online at proceed.net. We'll step aside. We'll take a break. We've got more here on The Insiders. A jam-packed Friday. We'll be back on the other side.
The most complete Bison coverage in the region. Your Bison Nation station, Bison 1660.
I think what makes Proceed win is we're different than the other companies in many ways with our programming, our simplicity, our non-corporate attitudes, and our personal relationship building.
What Proceed is, we bring back the old-fashioned seed buying experience. We're true seedsmen. We care about everything from the sale to the planting to following up afterwards. That's what we're all about, is just trying to bring that experience back to a personal level.
Need seed? Think Proceed. Proceed.net. Great seed at a reasonable price.
Fall is about tradition. Tradition on the field with Bison football and tradition in the cooler with Bud Light, the official beer of the NDSU Bison. When you're enjoying a clean sack or a perfectly timed touchdown pass, let the crisp, cold, clean taste of Bud Light tackle your taste buds. The only bigger crowd pleaser on Saturday is another Bison win. Whether it's in the tailgate zone, a couch gate at home, or inside the Fargo Dome, the Bison go best with Bud Light, the official beer of the NDSU Bison. Please drink responsibly, never drink and drive.
Our Road to the Ring is brought to you by Schmidt's Gems and Fine Jewelry. The North Dakota State Bison outran the Montana Grizzlies in the second round of the FCS playoffs in a dominant 49-26 victory this past Saturday. Running backs Kobe Johnson and Tamarick Williams combined for 307 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns in the win. Quarterback Cam Miller added 2 more touchdowns on the ground. Not to be outdone, running back TK Marshall also got into the action, scoring a rushing touchdown. Code Green also finding pay dirt on a forced fumble by Cody Heisman that was picked up and recovered in the end zone by Cole Wisniewski. The Road to the Ring is brought to you by Schmidt's Gems and Fine Jewelry. They have a long history and reputation for quality workmanship and rock-solid pricing. Whether diamond engagement rings, custom jewelry, or repairs, let Brenda and the team at Schmidt's Gems and Fine Jewelry create a legacy for you and your family. The Bison advance to the FCS quarterfinals and will host the Samford Bulldogs at 6 p.m. on Friday in a nationally televised game in the Fargo Dome.
This holiday season, give the gift of healing with Hyperbarics. We have multiple treatment packages, from 3 to 10 treatments, so there's an option for everyone on your list. When you think of hyperbaric oxygen, think of turning off inflammation. Whether that inflammation is from a recent concussion, COVID long hauler, arthritis, or general wellness, Hyperbarics can help you heal. We're located off of 45th Street. To find out more, follow us on Facebook, Healing with Hyperbarics. We hope to help everyone on your list heal this holiday season.
Get fueled up for the Bison game Friday at Applebee's on 19th Avenue North in Fargo. Bison 1660 will be broadcasting live starting at 2 o'clock with the Tailgate Show with Brad Jones, followed by Bison Game Day with Brad Jones and James Hendricks. Take advantage of great food and drink specials all afternoon. Don't have tickets to the game or ESPN2? Stick around and watch on one of their big screen TVs. This Friday at Applebee's on 19th Avenue starting at 2 o'clock. Go Bison!
Take us with you wherever you go with the Bison 1660 app, powered by Thunder Seed, first in the field. Now, back to the Insiders.
Back at it on a Friday. Thanks for joining us here on the Insiders. Rob Hipp alongside Micah Bendy. I'd love to hear from you on the Epic Companies hotline. Call, text 701-476-1660. What are you looking forward to about this matchup? What are you concerned about? Maybe you've got some concerns out there. What do the Bison have to do for a victory? And what are they going to have to do to contain redshirt freshman quarterback Quincy Crittenden, if he, in fact, is the guy? Michael Hires has been hurt. Hasn't been a whole lot of information disclosed about, just in depth about his injury. Just told that it was a deep tissue bruise, one of those type of injuries that can go on and be nagging. Hires tried to get the start last week in that loss versus Sela. Was only out there for a couple of downs, and then Quincy Crittenden took back over again. This is that redshirt freshman quarterback that we talk about, who has just been lights out, especially over the last 2 games. A young man out of Decatur, Alabama, that has really elevated this Samford team. I think that he could be the future of this program. But you look at Michael Hires, that is your Southern Conference Player of the Year. You lose him, but again, you've got a guy in Quincy Crittenden that can back him up, and we've seen a lot of domination out of him so far this season.
Oh yeah, and we saw it in the game previous this last week in the playoffs. He put up some great numbers, and he'll bring in a lot of confidence into the Fargo Dome versus the Bison. One thing that I want to make sure to talk about is, like, how will he handle the environment of the Fargo Dome and the pressure? Because this Samford team hasn't gotten this far in the playoffs before.
It's been a long time, yeah.
How are they going to handle the pressure of facing the Bison? The vibe, not the vibe, but the...
I know what you're saying, just the atmosphere.
The atmosphere, and like, oh my gosh, we're facing NDSU. We're facing the
gold standard of FCS football.
Yes, that's the perfect way to put it. Is how do they get past that first quarter where it's going to be a flurry of emotions and just a lot of stuff going on right away in the beginning of that game. Got to be able to get past that first, second quarter and able to stay with NDSU if you want to win the game.
We're back live from the Theraldson Ethanol Broadcast Center. Theraldson Ethanol, one of the nation's largest ethanol facilities. This 175 million gallon per year ethanol plant located just west of Castleton. You can feel your future by joining the growing team. Visit those open positions at theraldsonethanol.com. Also, our corporate game week coverage is brought to you by our friends at Nodak Insurance. If you're looking to save on your auto insurance premium, well, safe drivers can save up to 30% on their auto insurance when they enroll in the new Drive for Less program from Nodak Insurance. Download the Nodak Insurance app to start saving today. Visit NodakINS.com. That's Nodak Insurance Company, agents with answers. Well, as we talk about Samford, let's go ahead and go over some of our consolidated communications keys to the game. I've already mentioned enough about Quincy Crittenton. This is a young man. I think my first key to the game, Micah, is you're going to have to find a way to contain him if he is the guy. This is a passing attack from Samford that ranks in the top 10 in the FCS. A lot of that, though, was made possible by Michael Hires, but it seems that they have not slowed down a beat with that redshirt freshman quarterback who came in last week in the overtime victory versus Sealy. He was 26 of 40, 65% completion rating, 314 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. I think the other thing that stands out about him as well is he can scramble. If there's pressure back there and they're not able to bring him down, this is a quarterback that can find ways to rush. He has 2 rushing touchdowns on the ground this season, 110 total yards. He did rush 20 times for 94 yards and a touchdown a week ago. Got to contain him. That is my number one biggest key in this ball game.
That's a lot of carries for a quarterback. And you wonder, okay, how many of those are designed where you, like how we have with Cam Miller for NDSU, is it a designed quarterback run, or are majority of those where the play breaks down and he escapes the pocket and then nothing's there downfield and he just goes? So I didn't watch any of that game, but I'd be very interested to see, like, are they designed QB runs, or is it all just off the cuff for him?
Yeah, I think some of them have been designed. A lot of it is just his ability, just like with Cam Miller. Cam knows when to tuck and run. He's got a very high football IQ, and that's why I keep saying that Crittenton may be the future of this program once Michael Hires is done. Hires still a junior, so he has another year or two of eligibility left. But this is a young man in Crittenton that is stepping up to that plate. So that's the first key for me, Micah. You got to find a way to contain him if he, in fact, is the go-to man. If he's not, the key remains the same. Contain Michael Hires. He's over 3,300 yards this season, 35 touchdowns, and only 3 interceptions, also leading the FCS in his completion percentage. Hires completing almost 77% of his passes. He can rush as well. He's carried it 103 times for 161 yards and 3 touchdowns on the season.
Going to have to be disciplined on defense, not only up front on the pass rush, but also in the back end. Because if they're scrambling, that means receivers, they have to break off their route and then go with the quarterback when he's escaping the pocket. So there's a lot of extended plays, and a lot can go right for a defense, a lot can go wrong for a defense if you lose track of your guy downfield.
Absolutely. I think the second key is you go back and you look at this Samford team when they battled Sela just a week ago. I mean, they gave up quite a bit on the ground. We're talking over 350 total yards on the rushing side, or close to it. They actually gave up 348 net rushing yards a week ago. I'm going to have an acronym for you, and Bison Nation, you can probably figure this out. But for the Bison offense, JRTDM. Is that right? Yeah, that's it. No, wait, hold on.
B.
Yeah, you know where I'm going with it.
Yep.
Yeah, I meant B there. JRTBM. You know where I'm going with that. So, Micah, you messed me up, man. It's not, just run the ball. Just run the ball. There's a couple of other words that were thrown in there. Just run the ball. That's the other key. Just run the ball. Take it right up the middle. Use the A-gap power. Continue to utilize guys like Kobe Johnson, Tamarick Williams, TK Marshall's getting into the action late. Just run the ball.
I think it's as simple as just being the Bison offensively, because the Bison ran the ball so well last week, and they can do the same thing this week against a team that struggles to stop anybody on defense, whether it's through the air or the ground. I think the simple key to the game on the offense, be the Bison.
That's right, be the Bison. There you go. I was trying to think of these word acronyms on the fly, and it wasn't your fault. JRTDB. Just run the ball and throw that other word in there, and you know where I'm going with it. I think that's key number 2. And then I like what you said. Just be the Bison. Go out there, be the Bison. Play your game. Be patient. One thing that I've learned about this program, I always talk about the excellence, but the other thing that I've learned so prominently, that I've never experienced anywhere else. And I hear it from coaches across the board. I hear it from Coach Entz. I hear it from Coach Richmond with men's basketball. I've heard it from Coach Jory with women's basketball and Coach Collins. It's just focus on you. Don't worry about what the other team's doing. I mean, yeah, you've got to consider them, but this game isn't about Samford. It's about us. And that's what I hear from every program. It's about us. It's about us. It's about how are we going to go out and play. Don't worry about how are we going to do this and this versus the other team. Yeah, you have to have a game plan, but at the end of the day, it's about us. It's not about them.
If you can fix your own mistakes and your own wrongdoings, like from the last week, and pick that up for your next competition, well, you should be better because you're making yourself better by fixing what you've done wrong previously. It makes sense. It's kind of that self-scout that we talked about back when NDSU was on their bye week. They did a lot of self-scout, and maybe that's where this huge jump from the bye week and then on, we've seen constant progression and just NDSU being the better team.
I've talked about that every week. I feel like that light switch got turned on in that bye week after SDSU, and this team has felt more confident. They're doing a much better job at making tackles. Coach always talks about just pad-level blocks, guys wrapping up on tackles as well, finding those holes, those gaps. And I think another thing, too, is just be patient. If you're looking at another key and you're a running back, continue that patience. We've seen it with Kobe Johnson. We've seen it with other guys. Look at how they ran up against a line last week on the backside of their offensive line, bounced off of it like a pinball machine, and then took it to the house for a touchdown. That is patience. That's not trying to force something down the field where you're saying, okay, maybe there's a little bit of a gap here. It's waiting, seeing how the defense is starting to align, and then bouncing off and making those plays. Was there a little bit of luck involved? Yeah, but when the luck comes your way, you better know how to work through that luck. You still have to have a high level of talent.
Yeah, and Entz mentioned this on the Bison Football Radio show on Monday night, where he said they play the same formation. It's the 3-3-5. So if those DBs creep down and there's that huge one layer of defense that Montana was stuck doing, like it was like we had this one strong layer, but if NDSU got through that one layer, 70-yard touchdown, 68-yard touchdown, 75-yard touchdown, we could see more of that today.
A lot of handful of explosive plays. Again, those are your Consolidated Communications keys to the game. Consolidated Communications has the only data center in the area that is SOC 2 certified with tested, reliable systems in place to protect your valuable data for scalable, cost-effective data center solutions for your changing business needs. Go to consolidated.com/data center. Still got more here. We'll keep it right here. One thing, too, Micah, during the break, you and I were talking about this Samford team. What a successful season that they've had this year under head coach Chris Hatcher. The past couple of years, not really much as far as a winning record, but they have turned things around this year, coming into this ball game, taking care of business, and there's a lot of momentum. They come off of that double overtime victory versus Mercer there to end the regular season, defeating Sela in the opening round in overtime and continuing that journey as well. So I think this is a team that Chris Hatcher has found a way to turn around. He's utilized the good talent and guys like Michael Hires, and it's something to be said for them.
And when they're winning close games, I am a firm believer that winning close games isn't luck. Maybe it's a little luck. The ball might bounce your way a couple times throughout a matchup, but winning close games is a talent. Like I talked about with the Minnesota Vikings. Winning all these close games, 9 out of their 10 wins are one possession. When you win close games, that's a confidence booster that if you're in close games, you're like, okay, we're going to come out on top. Some way, somehow, we're going to make the plays in the end to come out on top. But it's going to be tougher for them to stay in the game versus the Bison here today. Because if they don't get past that first quarter and a half and they're down by 10 or more points, that's not a recipe to win against NDSU. NDSU is more comfortable when they're ahead. NDSU is a team that plays from ahead just by bashing you over and over and over again on the ground game, and then just breaks your will in the end.
And it's not like this Samford team has had terrible outing. I mean, Coach has been there now, talking about Chris Hatcher. He's been there in his 8th season, 51 wins, 37 losses, 73.8%, almost 74%. Of Hatcher's Samford squads have won the team's home games, so they play very well at home. On the road here, though, it's going to be a different story when you go into the Fargo Dome in a dome, and you haven't played in a dome since 2013, so that's something to be said. This team, there's a lot of firsts for this squad as well, and we'll see how Chris Hatcher is able to respond. He's been with this team a long time. He's carried them to victory, obviously, this season with that 11-1 record. You go back in 2021, they were 4-3, they were 4-7. Also there in that full season, the spring season, they were 4-3, and then in the fall season, 4-7. But he has brought them some limited success, but they have never made it this far. They won the outright conference title for the first time since the mid-'30s, getting their first playoff victory since the early '90s. And so this is a team that's riding in tonight with a lot of energy. And that's why I keep saying, Bison Nation, you have got to show up. You've got to be loud. That dome absolutely has to be packed because, as Coach Ince said, and it's been all over Twitter, he brought it up in the press conference, you make the difference. I asked the team about it. I interviewed the guys and said, what kind of difference does it make? They said it makes all the difference in the world when that crowd is there cheering them on. When they run through their tunnel, I'm telling you, I'm down there interviewing Coach pregame, and you can hear the crowd coming through that tunnel when you're deep there under the Fargo Dome. And so your presence is definitely felt, and it helps these young men be successful.
For sure. And I think one other thing that needs to be said is support these guys. This might be the last home game of the season. There is no guarantee that Sac State loses. Now, do we think it's going to be a good, close game? Absolutely. But Sac State could still pull out a win, and then NDSU has to travel out to Sacramento, and then that's it for games in the Fargo Dome for this season.
We'll see if the Bison offense, which we're expecting, going to be a lot of explosive plays in this ball game. They just have to play Bison football, looking for a very dominant rushing attack. We'll step aside, take a break. We've got Sam Herder, all things FCS with Hero Sports. He'll join us on the Epic Companies hotline on the other side.
Champions play here. Your home for the Thundering Herd. Bison 1660.
Are you an electrician? Are you looking for a change? JDP Electric is looking for commercial, industrial, and service electricians. JDP is looking for both journeyman and apprentice electricians. You could start your career today with a family-owned and operated business who's been serving our community for over 20 years. Full-time positions available with great pay and benefits. Call 701-232-1991 or email info@jdpelectric.net. Start your new tomorrow today. Come be a part of the JDP difference.
We all want to be part of a winning team, right? Hi, this is Marcus with Steamatic, and I am very proud of our team. Industry experts have voted Steamatic the best method of cleaning with our patented steam cleaning process, our 24-hour service, and highly trained technicians. We do it all from carpet cleaning, air duct cleaning, fire and water damage restoration, and remember, Bison fanatics choose Steamatic.
Steamatic, call 232-4707.
Dakota Refrigeration has been helping the Bison succeed behind the scenes. From their training room to their dining room, from milk to medicine, from ice to ice cream, Dakota Refrigeration has been serving Minnesota, Montana, and the Dakotas for over 4 decades. Locally owned and operated since 1974, Dakota Refrigeration is a full-service source for your refrigeration, heating, ventilation, air conditioning, and electrical needs. Dakota Refrigeration, located in Fargo, Bismarck, and Minot.
Here's your Red River Valley weather update on Bison 1660.
It's been cool and cloudy on your Friday with temperatures near 30. Overnight, a slight chance of snow and lows around 28. And on your Saturday, mostly cloudy with a high near 32. This weather update brought to you by Minn Kota Windows. Just when your kids thought it was time to head outside, a cold snap rolls in. Ditch the coat and snuggle up with peace of mind, knowing that Minn Kota's energy-efficient vinyl will block out the brutal cold and save you money. Midwest built, Midwest tough, guaranteed for life.
Hey, business owners, you have your banker, you have your insurance guy, but do you have your door guy? Now you do. DavTech Window Services also specializes in commercial door and window repair and replacement. DavTech is proud to be known for their excellent commercial services as on the NDSU campus. Choose the door and window experts that will deliver top-rated products as well as the experienced technicians that do it right the first time. See the clear difference for yourself online at DavTechWindowServices.com. That's DavTechWindowServices.com.
Attention Fargo Moorhead. The region's fastest growing heating, cooling, and plumbing contractor, Valley Service Mechanical, is proud to welcome the great team of Automatic Heating and Air to their family. Customers of Automatic Heating and Air will continue to receive the same expert service they have come to expect now alongside the professionals at Valley Service. When your heating and cooling needs help and your plumbing is on the fritz, call Valley Service Mechanical 701-293-5701 and online at valleyservice.net.
The place you go for all your Bison news first. You've got the Insiders right here on Bison 1660.
Welcome back to the Insiders. Thanks for joining us on a Game Day Friday edition. Been a fun one here as we've got more heading your way. This hour of the Insiders is brought to you by Wimmer's Diamonds, a locally family-owned jeweler serving and believing in this community for over 100 years. Stop in and see them at their new showroom, It's located at 4582 32nd Avenue South here in beautiful Fargo. Well, we know it's game day. There's a lot happening around the FCS, and when it comes to FCS and expertise, I don't know of anyone that digs into it better than our good friend Sam Herder of Hero Sports. He's joining us now on the Epic Companies hotline. Sam, as always, thanks for joining us. How you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing good. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, as always, man. Andy not here today, and we definitely wanted to talk some FCS though, and looking ahead to the playoffs. Before we get going, I think Mike already asked you, but you're not in Fargo today, man. I thought you may be here.
No, I thought about it, but with multiple games going on Friday night, figured I would just stay back in the Twin Cities area, catch all the games, watch tomorrow's game as well. But next weekend, assuming South Dakota State wins, I'll probably head to Brookings for their semifinal game. And, depending on what happens tonight, maybe NDSU ends up hosting, and I could kind of have a Dakota's road trip next weekend. But we have to get through the quarterfinals first.
Well, I definitely want to talk to you here in just a little bit about NDSU and this matchup today versus Samford. But before we dig into that, we'll save the best for last. You look at the FCS landscape this year in the playoffs, and none of the at-large teams made it through here to the quarterfinal round. It is all your number 1 through number 8 seeds. What has really stood out to you this season in this FCS landscape? Maybe some surprises, those kind of things.
Yeah, I think there's been a decent amount of surprises as far as teams that have risen up. You look at Holy Cross, Incarnate Word, William & Mary, Samford, didn't really have a whole lot of preseason expectations, and now for them to be top 8 seeds and make it to the quarterfinals, I think are a bit of a surprise. And then on the flip side, that usually means that some top teams didn't reach expectations, and I think of Kennesaw State, Missouri State, Stephen F. Austin, teams with high preseason expectations, Montana as well, that didn't reach those expectations. And so overall, if you would have told me these would have been the 8 teams in the quarterfinals back a few months ago, I probably wouldn't have believed you, but that's why preseason polls and preseason predictions are kind of just for the fun of it, and no one really knows what's going to happen, and that's what makes the FCS fun.
Again, Sam Herder here joining us of Hero Sports. You can find him on Twitter as always at Sam Herder FCS. Sam, I kind of wanted to break down the matchups as we look across the landscape in the quarterfinals. This one not happening tonight, but it will get underway tomorrow on linear television on ESPN. South Dakota State battling Holy Cross. This is a South Dakota State team, in many opinions, that this may be the most complete team that they've had. Just your thoughts on that first matchup.
Yeah, I think that's probably correct when it comes to South Dakota State, the most complete team they've had. Defensively is just playing so well. Defensive line, linebackers are so strong, and then the secondary as well has really stepped up their game compared to last year. Then on offense, Mark Gronowski has only, I think he's either 19-1 or 18-1 currently against FCS opponents, not including the Sam Houston game where he was knocked out, where he got injured in that national title game, so not including that one. His only losses to UND going back to the spring season. And so he's a winner. He's got a ton of weapons around him. Offensive line is maybe not as strong as last year, but still by FCS standards, probably a top 3 to 5 offensive line. So the Jacks are just a complete team. I don't think they are going to have too much problems with Holy Cross. Holy Cross is, they play a good brand of football. They are physical. They do have depth. They do have a veteran squad. A lot of these upperclassmen on Holy Cross have been, a major part of Holy Cross's 4 straight playoff runs. And so they are experienced. They are talented. But South Dakota State, I think, is just on a different level here.
Well, the CAA, as we move on and look at another matchup here, talking about William & Mary and Montana State, CAA bringing a lot in there to get things started, but now William & Mary just kind of that last man standing. And this is a battle versus Montana State, two really good rushing offenses. What are you looking forward to in this matchup, and could you possibly see William & Mary here take one against Montana State?
Yeah, I think Montana State, this will probably be one of the closer quarterfinal games, but I think right now, just with how Montana State is playing, it's hard to see their season ending this early. Just they look like one of the hottest teams in the FCS right now. Rushing attack is looking unstoppable. They got Isaiah Fonte back last week. Defensively hasn't been quite as strong for the Bobcats this season, but their last 2 games I think were probably two of their better defensive performances this season. And so, William & Mary, I think, is talented. They're built well. Again, they're balanced on defense. It's not like you can point at their passing defense or their rushing defense that you can exploit. Then offensively, pretty balanced, but for the most part, they really like to run the ball, have a really good offensive line. So William & Mary is strong, but it's a short week. It's a long travel. They're going to the cold at Montana State. It's a late kick. I think it'd be, for William & Mary's body clocks, it'd be a 10:15 kick, Eastern time. I believe that's the time. And so I just think it'd be a pretty uphill battle for William & Mary to get a win there.
The most intriguing matchup, in my opinion, is Incarnate Word versus Sac State. What is going to be the reason that each team wins? What's the reason that Incarnate Word wins that game? What is going to be the reason that Sac State wins that game?
Yeah, it's interesting, too, in that we know that T.J. Kinney is on his way out of UIW, accepted the Texas State head coaching job. He is finishing the season. But now Sac State is dealing with their coaching distractions, with Troy Taylor seemingly being one of 2 finalists for the Samford job, and Jason Garrett last night tweeted that he'd be remaining at his current gig on television, and so kind of seems like Troy Taylor could be on his way out of Sac State. But when it comes to the game, if you are going to attack Sac State defensively or on offense, I think Sac State's passing defense is more gettable than the rushing defense, and that obviously lends its hand to UIW and Lindsey Scott Jr. They're just, they take their shots, and, sometimes completion percentage might not be too great for Lindsey Scott, but he's going to hit on some of those big plays. And so for UIW to win, I think they need to hold up in the trenches on defense and then just, hit on those big plays offensively. For Sac State, I don't think Sac State wants to get into a track meet. I don't think they want their throwing quarterback, Jake Dunnyway, to be throwing 40-plus times and getting into a track meet against Lindsey Scott Jr., because if that's the case, Sac State isn't going to win. Dunnyway has had some interception problems through different spurts throughout this season. And so I think for Sac State to win, I think they have the physical advantage in the trenches, and so if they run their running quarterback, Asher O'Hara, 25 times, and they run their physical running back, Cameron Scatabo, 25 times, and they just bleed the clock, they go on long extended drives, I think that is how Sac State wins, instead of trying to get into a 45-42 shootout against UIW. I think they need to turn this into a slower game and not an up-tempo game for Sac State.
There's been some chatter about Sacramento State. Some media personalities have said kind of, hey, this is a team of destiny. We really feel like this is their year. But, I've been talking about Incarnate Word all season long from the day that I got here and got on the Insiders. And you've already mentioned Lindsey Scott Jr. There's no question about his ability, putting up video game numbers. I like what Andy said, the perfect way to describe it. He's like a cheat code. But, you're talking about a quarterback that's over 60 touchdowns on his own. Just a phenomenal offense in UIW that is averaging over 50 points a game, the highest in the FCS. Do you think that this Incarnate Word team has that capability to put an end to Sacramento State? Because I think what I feel in my gut is we're going to see a showdown coming up in the semifinals here in Fargo with UIW.
Yeah, I think if there is going to be one higher seed, or if there's going to be one game that doesn't go chalk in the quarterfinals, it probably would be UIW and Sac State. I think this will be the closest of the quarterfinal games. I think with UIW, we'll see. It's supposed to be in Sacramento. It's supposed to be pretty windy and rainy, but that's not supposed to hit the area until about 11 or midnight local time, and so weather might not be a factor. That might come in after the final whistle, and so we'll see there. But yeah, I think UIW, especially with their passing attack, could take advantage of Sac State and get a win. Plus, you never know how players are reacting to the Troy Taylor news and possible news, and any preparation is so key. Monday through Friday, and in this case, Monday through Thursday, preparation is so key. And if you're a player and you're scrolling Twitter looking for the most recent updates, and your mind isn't on your keys, and if UIW gives you this look, this is what we're going to do. You need to know that on like the back of your hand. But if you're mentally you're somewhere else wondering who's going to be your head coach next year, that's going to take away from your preparation. And so I kind of lean Sac State a little bit in this one, but UIW going there and getting the win, I don't think would really be a surprise to anyone.
Sam Herder again joining us from Hero Sports. Just a couple of last questions. Again, appreciate your time here on a Friday. Know that you're busy. Save the best for last as far as these matchups. North Dakota State hosting Samford tonight. What are the keys for the Bison to get a victory, and what does Samford have to do to come out with a win here in Fargo?
Yeah, well, this is kind of we've seen this before, quite a bit, throughout my years covering the FCS playoffs, where a more southern team, up-tempo, passing offense, not a great Russian defense, goes to the Fargo Dome, and it's just stylistically, it's just not a very favorable matchup for Samford, and they're going to have to hold their own in the trenches. Defensive line is obviously going to have to try and go toe-to-toe with NDSU's offensive line for all 4 quarters. On the flip side, it might not be a sellout crowd, but it's still going to be a loud Fargo Dome, and that could kind of get the Samford offensive line, on its heels a little bit, and so NDSU's defensive line can eat there. I do think we'll see if Michael Hires does play, but I kind of feel like Crittenden is. I know he's a freshman, but his running ability compared to Michael's kind of more pocket passer presence, that actually might help Samford a little bit because. I don't know if they're just going to be able to sit back and pick apart NDSU's really good secondary. They're going to have to make some plays running the ball, and I think Crittenden's running ability is going to be key in this one. But overall, it's just not a great matchup, like I said, for Samford. And what's interesting too is there's a lot of talk about Samford's offense versus NDSU's defense, but I mean NDSU is a team that's averaging more points. The Bison are averaging 36 points per game, number 13 in the FCS. Samford is just under 35 points per game, number 21 in the FCS. And so I think this could be a big day for NDSU offensively, especially running the ball.
Yeah, and when you talk about the NDSU defense, I mean, they're only giving up 18 points a game as well. So it's a very talented Code Green defense. We know what they can do. Sam, I did save one last question for you, if you don't mind. You have just a couple more minutes. I wanted to chat with you about this. For me coming down in Texas and being a part of the WAC and then that ASUN WAC challenge, there was some news that kind of started to break a little bit earlier. Maybe it's been in the works. There's been some chatter about it, but officially now seeing on ESPN that the ASUN and WAC teams are now pairing up, trying to attempt to move to FBS. There's been some sources out there that are talking about that, and whenever you mention teams there, Stephen F. Austin, Abilene Christian, I believe Utah Tech, Southern Utah, Tarleton State, and then your ASUN members in Austin Peay, Eastern Kentucky, UCA, and North Alabama. I just wanted your thoughts on that because how much does that change the FBS landscape? It seems like everybody's wanting to make that jump now. This would be a pretty huge jump to see that many teams now moving over from the FCS level to the FBS.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of this right now. There's when the ASUN formed their own football conference, when the WAC formed or reformed their football conference, we did hear right as they were forming those conferences that their ultimate goal was to become an FBS conference one day. And so from that perspective, this maybe isn't too much of a surprise. And I just think with both of those conferences losing members, that kind of maybe stalled some things. But now that they have formed one joint FCS league, now they're maybe putting plans in place to hopefully become an FBS league. And I know there are multiple members, individual members within those two conferences, now one joint football conference that have aspirations to be FBS programs one day. And so this also might be something where the ASUN and the WAC kind of said, if we want to hold on to these members, let's try and go FBS, as a whole, instead of having members leave one by one. There's not really a process in place of an entire group of FCS teams jumping up to the FBS, and so I don't know if it can be passed, but I also don't know if there's anything that can prevent it from being passed as far as the NCAA, just allowing them to do it. But at the same time, I can't imagine there's a lot of FBS athletic directors or presidents that see this and are going to be excited about it because does this new ASUN WAC, do they get a piece of the college football playoff revenue pot? If they do, that's not going to excite the MAC or the Sun Belt, and if they don't, well, where's the revenue going to come from for the ASUN WAC to be able to sustain being FBS if they don't get a piece of that college football revenue?
Yeah, it's some things that I really need to sit down and study more and think about because when you look at the bigger picture and you're allowing so many FCS teams now to hop over to that FBS level, my initial thought was, well, does this ultimately end up devaluing the FBS and creating more separation within what would consider the top level of Division I football? And does that make for a chance for the bigger conferences to eventually still break away despite expanding to a 12-team playoff? That's some things that I'm going to have to sit and really evaluate and look at because when you start pouring in so many FCS teams into the FBS, where does it stop? And where does that league at the FBS level continue to grow?
Exactly, and that's what, I'm kind of talking to a few different people that kind of just feel the lay of the land, and one FCS level administrator kind of mentioned that too, and they said this, this is if the NCAA opens this door and allows the ASUN WAC to be a football-only conference at the FBS level, which technically right now there is a moratorium on, one single sport conferences forming And so that is something that would have to change. But at the same time, if they let this group of teams go, the source said that the WAC is kind of holding their card that they were an FBS conference at one point, and that could allow them to get in. But if these group of below-average FCS teams jump up to the FBS, why can't the SWAC as a whole jump up to the FBS, or why can't a group of Big Sky and Missouri Valley Football Conference teams, form a football-only conference and make the jump up if others have? And then you kind of just open that door that's hard to shut. And then at some point, if you just keep on letting dozens of FCS teams into the FBS, then you have former FCS teams just playing former FCS teams for a chance at bowl games instead of the playoffs. And so at what point is it, you get more revenue, but at the same time, your postseason maybe isn't as fun. And so kind of like you said, it's kind of a wait and see what the reaction is of this. And this might just be the ASUN WAC putting a plan in place, putting it out there to the public to just try to get this ball rolling, and where it ends up, I don't know. I still am a little skeptical about them actually going to the FBS as a whole, but it's all on the NCAA, and as we know, the NCAA doesn't have too big of a backbone, and they might just say, all right, if you guys want to go, then we'll let you in.
Well, Sam, appreciate your time. It sure does make for a lot of fun radio chat, though, to figure out what's going to happen. It's always I always enjoy just kind of pondering the ideas and seeing what will happen. So, Sam, as always, appreciate you. One of the best out there covering the FCS, keeping us up to date as always. Sam Herder here on the Epic Companies Hotline. Thank you, my friend. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. One of these days, we're going to have to get Sam in here. He's going to be like a fourth voice on the Bison station because he calls in so much. But every time I reach out, Sam's always eager to chat with us, and he's got a lot of insight. Again, appreciate him joining us today. You can follow him on Twitter, Sam Herder, FCS. Want to remind you, too, Chris Hansen, again, will be looking for you in the tailgate lot to show your Bison pride. You might just win a $100 gift card to Twin Peaks if Chris finds you as the tailgater of the game here later today. If you're a fan of Twin Peaks, you can sign up for the E-Club to stay up to date on all things Twin Peaks and to score free stuff. All you got to do is visit TwinPeaksRestaurants.com. That's eats, drinks, scenic views, Twin Peaks. Also want to remind you, if you need to stock up on all your favorites for watching football, well, our friends at the Spirit Shop, they have you covered with their huge selection of beer, wine, or spirits at the best prices and great weekly specials. It's the Spirit Shop is off 13th behind Shill's Home and Hardware. We'll step aside. We'll take a break. We've got more here on The Insiders. When we come back, stay with us.
Champions play here.
You're vice president material.
You're vice president material.
Bison 1660.
At Wimmer's Diamonds, we believe in love, in family, and traditions. Hi, this is Aaron Wimmer inviting you to visit our new showroom where we can help you find the perfect gift for that special someone in your life. For more than 103 years, our family's been helping your family celebrate the special moments with beautiful reminders of love. Wimmer's Diamonds, 4582 32nd Avenue South in Fargo.
Homewood Suites wants you to feel at home. This upscale extended stay brand understands that being away from home can be challenging. So Homewood Suites in North Fargo has designed their amenities to make life easier for you. At Homewood, you can relax in a variety of suites with full kitchens, complimentary hot breakfast, outdoor grills, and recreational areas that make stays more familiar. When you need to be away, but you still want to feel like home, choose Homewood Suites by Hilton. Find out more and book a stay at HomewoodSuites.com.
With rising interest rates, inflation, and higher costs, this past year has provided some challenges. This is Scott Zalondik with Cornerstone Bank. The Cornerstone Bank team of experts is here to help you navigate through those challenges as you get ready for 2023. We're a locally owned and managed community bank, and we've been specializing in ag banking for generations. Come see us at Cornerstone Bank, and go Bison.
Member FDIC. Cornerstone Bank is an equal housing lender.
Hi, I'm Grant Nelson, NDSU Bison basketball player. Whether it's playing basketball or driving in my car, I want to do everything to the best of my ability, on the court and off the court. So when I'm in the car, I up my game with the Drive for Less program from Nodak Insurance. I could save up to 30% on my premium just for driving safely. To me, that's a slam dunk. Download the Nodak Insurance app today.
With the rising threat of cybersecurity attacks,
you need to ensure your business is fully protected. Data loss, ransomware attacks, and other breaches can disrupt your business and damage your reputation. Consolidated Communications Cloud Secure Service safeguards your business from these attacks by securing your network, data, and applications. We proactively monitor your security to prevent intrusions before they compromise your IT systems while protecting your staff in the office or when working remotely. Visit consolidatedcommunications.com/cloudsecure to protect your business.
We take great pride in really doing all the research and the work behind the scenes to make sure that our products just work.
We have our own staff member that helps pick the hybrids and the varieties that work in our area. It's meant for you, not for somebody 200 miles away.
We test our seed locally. We produce our seed locally, so we get to see our production fields, where they need to be, and if they work there.
Need seed? Think ProSeed. ProSeed.net. Great seed at a reasonable price.
Gearing up for another season of Bison football? We've got you covered each and every day on the Insiders on Bison 1660.
Welcome back to the Insiders. We wrap it up here. Only 1 hour today. We got the Bison Report coming up next here at noon with our good friend Ross Uglum. Make sure to stay tuned in all day long. Tune in all week long if you want. You know, we're always going to talk Bison, but stay on all day. And then, of course, we will have kickoff coming up 6 p.m. pregame starting at 5. But, again, so many shows, so much activity going on now through the rest of the night. I'll be on that call, as always, alongside the Hall of Famer Phil Hansen, Cole Jurek, down on the sidelines as the Bison battle Samford here coming up tonight. Well, mechanical systems are the heartbeat of your home or business, whether it's the furnace, AC, or plumbing, commercial or residential. There's only one name to call. That name, Valley Service Mechanical. Give them a call, 701-293-5701, or online at valleyservice.net. Let's head back over to the Epic Companies hotline here for a quick moment. Our good friend Tony been kind enough to wait. Tony, how you doing today?
Hey, Rob, great job as always. Got a couple questions pretty quickly, and if you can answer them, and maybe in the future. As far as regarding what officiating crews work in this NDSU game tonight, and how they go about assigning these officials to certain games for the playoffs. I don't know if in the future you guys could get somebody on from coordinator of officials in regards to the FCS playoffs. But if you know offhand, I'm sure you've been doing this a while, how they go about and correlate where they move them and where they put them. Every game's always tough. But also, again, just wondering who's working the game tonight. So thanks. Have a great call today, Rob.
Yeah, appreciate that very much. And those are great questions. And I do know that the Big Sky Conference officials will be working the game tonight. Referee Rod Brotherton will be the gentleman in charge there, and then he's got a slew behind him. But it is from the Big Sky Conference. Those are the guys working. And that's a great question. I'll dig in and talk to Ryan Peralt and just figure out more about how they come up with selecting what officials will be at those ball games, which crew they'll bring. But we do know it is the Big Sky Conference officials tonight. And, looking forward to hopefully those guys doing a good job. That's a tough job, Mike, that I would never want is to be a white hat out there.
I don't want to be a referee because there's not a lot of love in that profession, because whether you have a good game, or they're just like, well, you did your job. Nice. Sweet. And then, but if you do a bad job or make some questionable calls, then everyone's just like, what the heck are you doing? What are you calling? What are you seeing? You don't have eyes out there? Well, you're not going to get a lot of glory from that job right there.
No, well, good questions. And again, I'll follow up with Ryan and we'll get more information on how those are actually selected. But again, appreciate the phone call there on the Epic Companies hotline. Mike, I got to go one more. Consolidated Communications keys to the game. We were talking a little bit about the special teams in this ball game too that could play a factor.
There's a third facet in football. Yes, we have offense and defense, but the third key to this game for me is special teams. We looked at the rankings on special teams. Net punting for Samford, they do very, very well. They are third in net punting. So what does that tell me? They got great punting and they have great coverage. Well, if NDSU can have good coverage on that punt and give Jaden Price some good space to run around, find some lanes, maybe he can break a big one today.
Yeah, I'd love to see that. Again, that is a good key to victory. I always talk about offense, defense. It's always good to throw that third faucet in there as well. Again, we'll be keeping an eye on special teams from Samford here in this ball game today. That brought to you by Consolidated Communication, your keys to the game. Consolidated Communications provides high-speed internet and phone service for businesses of all sizes. Contact Consolidated Communications today and speak to a representative. It's Consolidated. They have the expertise to translate technology into solutions that fit your business. Also want to remind you, Applebee's on 19th Avenue North in Fargo, the new home of the Bison 1660 Hotline Show. You can come see Bison 1660 crew broadcast live before the Bison football game today. Not after, before. and register to win prizes, including Bison 1660 t-shirts and tickets. Last but certainly not least, this show made possible in part by our friends at Men's Hair Co., the only place to go for haircuts, waxing, shaves, beard care, and more. You can find a location near you with 5 Fargo, Moorhead, and West Fargo locations to choose from. Go with the home team for your haircuts this football season. It's Men's Hair Company, online at menshairco.com. Micah, been a good one here today. Boy, we packed a lot into an hour, a whole cornucopia. It could almost be like a meat sandwich of goodness here on a Friday instead of overreaction. But looking forward to the game. What are you looking forward to most, Micah, before we close out?
Just a Bison win. It's going to happen.
Like it. Just keep it simple. A Bison win. We're looking forward to it. That'll wrap it up here today for the Insiders. We'll see you tonight. Stay tuned in. Ross Uglum, Bison Report coming up next. Horns up and go, Bison.
What's worth seeing in your life, and what's seeing worth? This holiday season, Vance Thompson Vision invites you to give the gift of sight to someone you love with the most experienced